What's going on, guys? Chevrolet Anniversary mini-series has now dropped for us on Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown to celebrate Chevrolet's 113th birthday for that huge cosmetic reward of a leather jacket. Very American. When we take a look at this event, we have got, of course, live event race number 1, a 3-mile, 2-lap race on asphalt. Hopefully this one's going to be dry. Max rating of 700 using any Chevrolet car. Moving down to the bottom of the map, live event race number 2. Once again, another asphalt race. This one, again, 700 max RP using any Chevrolet of a 3.2 mile sprint. And then lastly on the map, we have something quite interesting. And that, of course, moving up to race number 3, a Domination 2.8 race, but this time we're restricted to the old Chevrolet C1 with a max rating of 500 RP. A clear race on asphalt, once again, hopefully going to be a dry race. These cars are going to be very lively, rear-wheel drive Chevys. Now, of course, I had to go and buy a C1, but for this race to start everything off, I'm going to jump into the Chevrolet that, of course, we were given here, the ZL1, when we purchased the game. Now, substandard, it's Hong Kong, it's Test Drive Unlimited, it's absolutely soaking wet on the road surface. This thing I've got here is an absolute monster with slick tyres, and we're not getting any traction. When we come over to the stadium section where the race is held, this is where the game is missing something, I feel. Having that stadium section, they could be doing so much more with it, as I make an absolute meal of approaching the race that we want to enter into. We'll put it down to the wet weather, the slick tyres and the ridiculous levels of power. But as we do jump into live event race number 1 with the ZL1, it is in that stadium section. Now, one big issue I had with this is the RP that we are maxed out at. We can't fit slick tyres, we can do very little to the ZL1. They probably, in my opinion, should have made that RP cap so much higher so we could actually play about with these cars before getting into the race. But nonetheless, we are in the race now. We can see there's some more ZL1s, some very interesting Chevys in this race, and we are largely, it does seem, underpowered. I have tuned this one slightly to a more circuit-based tune, more handling focused. But as we can see, coming into the little tight section here, we do just manage to keep ourselves ahead, but that ZL1 driven by Chris is very much still in first place, and given where we are already, it's probably going to be a bit of a task to catch up with it. We can see the rest of the pack are sitting right in our tails, actually nudging us through this little tight section here. Chris isn't pulling away just yet, but we can see as we do try to get the power down in the ZL1, we're lighting up the back end like the rest of the pack, but we are really lighting up the back end of the car. Reverting back to the fact that I think, we should have had the opportunity to fit slick tyres to this so we could actually have a more tactful race in the ZL1. It's very lively at the back end, it's a hell of a lot of power going through those rear wheels. But we're managing it, we are pushing through. Yes, we are in second place, we're not going to win every race. But as we do come down the start-finish straight here, we do push up to cross the checkered line, which isn't actually the checkered line, it's further on to start lap 2. That's very strange, but we do start lap 2. We are in second place. We do have the AI just behind, so maybe slightly defensive driving, but overall we can race our own race here. We can hopefully try and catch up with first place, but we can see that Chris is essentially out of touch at this point. The AI really are on our back end through this little tight section of the stadium race. But as we do manage to get the power down, control the back end of the ZL1, nice little tight right hander here. We don't want to outbrake ourselves, we don't want to go wide. We can see that the ZL1 essentially doing what we done there, losing the back end slightly, lighting up those rear tyres, and the same is probably going to happen here. When we do get the power down, we actually control it slightly better with the gearing of the car, but we do manage to not lose the back end all too much. Round the last corner here, we do step out, but we do manage to get the power down as we do cross the start finish line, which isn't the start finish line, it's further on here. We do cross it with a 2:15, and we do take a second place for the first outing. Moving over to the second race for today, and it will be live event race number 2, fantastically named, once again in the ZL1. Now, what we can see straight off the back here is we have got a damp, probably wet road surface, changing the ratios of the car here, bringing them a bit longer so we can make more use of the power of the ZL1. We do manage to out-drag or out-launch the rest of the pack off the line, and it really is pedal to the metal. It is hammered down for the first section of this. We do manage to perform very well here. We are getting very brave, We don't lift all through this section. We manage to keep it planted, the back end trying to step out just there, but we do keep the power down, and we do really start to charge on here. Very close to the wall on the right hand side, slightly lifting through that left hander so we don't collect the wall on the right hand side. Tight braking section here, don't want to outbrake, don't want to hit that wall here. This left hander, we don't want to overextend, we do just overextend. We could probably be a little bit tighter, a little bit quicker through that section, but largely we're doing pretty alright here. Power still, yeah, powering down all through this one. A tight left hander here with a wet surface, semi-slick tyres. We don't want to outbrake ourselves, I do brake slightly early here. Very cautious, getting back on the power, not wanting the back end of the ZL1 to step out on us. Down into a right hand hairpin once again, slightly cautious, not wanting to lock up, not wanting to outbrake ourselves, and not wanting to get the power too early. We can see that there is a lot of standing water on that part of the track. And the last tight dragging out left hander here, once again quite reserved, getting onto the power. Really don't want to lose the back end of the ZL1. Downhill, just for once managing to miss the lamppost on the right hand side here. Nice interesting downhill braking section here, once again not wanting to lock up and losing the front of the car there down into that corner, but we do negotiate the vast majority of that track fantastically well, get the power down to that start finish line. We cross around about a 1 minute 49.9, taking first place and proudly taking 7th place on the leaderboard overall. So it does seem like I've got on here before a lot of the cheats, and we do get quite a respectful 1 minute 49.94. Only a second, not even a second, half a second off of first place. Could probably improve with that one. So that one there's one for you guys all to let me know what time you did manage to achieve. Lastly here we do jump into the C1 here for the C1 race. I like this touch from the game. I want to touch on that first of all. I've spoke about this with the rest of the mini-series that we have had with TDU. I like getting into these cars that we would not normally drive. When else would we normally drive that Chevy C1? A massive tick from the game. The big issue I have here, I had to spend 750,000 in-game credits to purchase this car for one race. Why can't they loan it to us? Why can't we do it as a trial run? I think that there could be improved. There's a hell of a lot of money to buy that car for one race. Equally, we could just not buy that car, we could just do the other Chevrolet races. Yeah, that's maybe the avenue for you guys to do. We can see it's in a C1, it's cool, it's a car I did want to use previously, but we obviously bought the E-Type for the classic races on the mini-series, but we're in the C1 now, we have bought it. Largely, it's actually quite an enjoyable drive. Nice, old school, Chevy sound coming from it. It's actually quite fun to handle, quite fun to drive. Yeah, we're in second place, it's a domination race, so we're not worried here. We just need to get a couple of these checkpoints taken out before the rest of the AI do. We can see we do collect the wall, and we do fall down to third place on the road, but we're still second in the race as the AI make an absolute fucking meal of whatever happened there. They do collect the back end of our Chevy, but we are now in first place. We are first on the road, first on in terms of positions in the domination, and largely now we are untroubled for the rest of this race. We can get the power down, tight section here, we do outbrake ourselves. Yeah, of course it's an old car, we're not going to have the best handling model here, but we can have fun with it. It's essentially the name of these little mini series. I do believe having fun with cars we wouldn't normally do. I do think that's a massive tick for the Chevrolet mini series for the 113th Chevrolet birthday. Now we can start to get the power down. Let's see what we can do with this Chevy. Apologies. The slight tune I did put in this one, I focused on stiffer anti-roll bars, slightly more relaxed rebound from the suspension stuff, and it's handling relatively well. It's of course still got understeer, but the power and the delivery of it does seem alright. Finishing the line, crossing the line on the interior mode, it actually looks alright, guys. I do find it actually to be quite a fun little race. That second race in particular, taking 7th place overall out of everybody, is a feather in the cap. For me, maybe not the best mini-series that we've had from the game so far. You guys can let me know your thoughts on Chevrolet mini-series Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. Also let me know what time you managed to achieve on that second race. It'll be interesting to know where the rest of you guys did finish. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, hope you've enjoyed today's update on Chevrolet on Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. Stay tuned for the next update on Test Drive Solar Crown.